When it comes to exploring vast desert terrain, you never know what you may find out there, nor know if you're truly alone. At times, there can be an eerie, creepy feeling. That was the case recently for a fellow YouTuber known as Exploring Abandoned Mines and Unusual Places, also known as Frank. Now, Frank has engaged within the mystery of Kenny Veach and the mysterious M Cave, located somewhere out in the Mojave Desert of Nevada. Recently, Frank was doing a hike exploring mines, abandoned ones, whilst collaborating with another YouTuber. Though Frank was able to reach the site first, whilst he was waiting, he decided to have a peek within the mine, and what he came across was somewhat disturbing. Let's hear what Frank had to say. Is this a grave? I recently found this disturbance just inside the entrance to a small abandoned mine. It seemed unusual, it seemed deliberate, it seemed too perfect, it seemed out of place. Please click the picture to see the entire shot. My newest video titled Odd Discovery is somebody buried in a small abandoned mine. Features this and more, and you can catch it tomorrow. In addition to that detail, he also mentioned, did I just stumble upon a forgotten grave in a small secluded abandoned mine? Did somebody bury Kenny Veach here? It's hard to say, and I wasn't able to start digging to find out. This mine used to be a silver mine back in the late 1800s, so anything could be buried there. Nick from Miner 49er and I spent a few days exploring and documenting many abandoned mines throughout the deserts of California and Nevada. Could it be true that Kenny Veach was buried out in the desert, such as a mine? I mean, if that was the case, it would clearly highlight foul play, as the original claim in the past by viewers was suicide. If Kenny Veach's body was buried, somebody else would have been responsible for that, and likely ending Kenny's life. But why would anyone do that to Kenny? Was it because he was getting too close to the truth, such as revealing the location of the mysterious M Cave? Who knows? What we do need to do right now is take a closer look at this footage and its potential grave site.
Here's an abandoned mine entrance. Danger, unsafe mines, stay out, stay alive. I'm up here with Nick today. I saw this opening and thought I'd check this out while I'm waiting for him. Looks like they were digging the downward shaft, or maybe somebody's buried there. Kenny Veach, maybe, who knows? That's a little disturbing.
Seeing it from Frank's point of view was quite interesting and maybe a little bit creepy. Now it's almost time for my analysis of the matter and my response. What I just would like to say first and foremost, welcome to those that may be currently here watching this live premiere. I do appreciate it. Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen, and in general at any point, whether you be watching on catch up or not. Let me know your questions, your reactions about this video. Leave your comments down below under the video. You'll also find a pinned comment by me if you would like to support this channel in different ways. If you simply want to catch up on my recent videos, or maybe more so the official Kenny Veach playlist, which covers the latest breaking news and research on the case by me, my channel, top right corner of the screen where the I symbol is, click on that, you'll be able to locate it there. So, with that being all said and done, let me know your thoughts right away by the landscape, the view here. It does appear to be higher up, higher elevation, and that always needs to be considered when either searching for Kenny and or the M Cave, as the original description was given by Kenny on the side of a mountain on ground level. Now, he did change in his description throughout his hike, so anything could be possible, and we have seen M-shaped caves higher up in the mountains, up hills, etc. We might as well take it all into account. Now, if anyone can guess the area, feel free to do so. Let me know your thoughts down below. I mean, yeah, there are mountains in the distance, but I can't quite put my finger on what they are. It's definitely not sheep range, at least looking this way. And as for the ground where it's coloured in areas, it appears to be greenish. And as you can see closer to the screen, higher up elevation, are a few cactuses, I believe, and some vegetation. That's interesting. Now, if we go over to the response by Frank, Exploring Abandoned Mines, he said, yes, feel free to use my footage, and if you could, provide a link to my channel. Of course, that's what I will do. If anyone is interested in exploring abandoned mines or unusual places, there will be a link to his channel either in the comment section or the description of this video. You'll be able to find it there, okay? Now, Frank said, as far as the location where I came across this potential gravesite, yes, this is an abandoned mine in northern Nevada. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I am seriously thinking about heading back there and digging out the spot. That's just inside the mine's entrance. I wouldn't want any of your die-hard fans beating me to the location. Okay, so that's like a heads up that at least we're in Nevada, okay? Northern Nevada. That's one little clue and hint. What I do want to say is, when it comes to exploring abandoned mines and unusual places, in the past when Frank came across and had a tip-off to do with the location of an M-shaped cave, when I asked for the location back then, he even said in his video that he wasn't able to reveal the location publicly because some military guy tipped him off, and if he revealed it to the public, someone could get in trouble and it could get messy. Now, maybe some viewers could say these are all excuses, but all I'm doing here is just simply relaying to you the information and responses from people. And as example here, I did try inquiring about the location of this mine area within Nevada, and Frank described it as a northern part of Nevada. Now, northern Nevada, is that in like the same direction as Kenny Veach? Well, this is the thing. If you was to say the start point was Las Vegas, Nevada, and it was north that way, well, then it would be going towards Sheep Peak, Jerme Canyon, and where Kenny Veach supposedly went missing at. Could you argue and say it's even further north past that? Maybe, maybe not. It depends what the vegetation looks like. You know, anyone watching right now, or any hikers, let's at least highlight that. Any hikers that have been in this area or seen something very familiar to their past travels, could you locate this spot? I mean, when you think of, what's it called? Something, Hidden Ridge or Hayford Peak, the Enchanted Forest Walk, Deadman's Canyon, those locations, you started getting onto more vegetation, trees and greenery like that. So could this be in that direction or beyond, and maybe on the other side of the mountains? I mean, it's like a side profile this, possibly. I mean, if you used to look at the ridges and the, almost like a spine when looking at Sheep Peak, Hayford Peak, and those places, that tends to be going in a like a spine north, kind of almost straight winding in and out. If you just look at an image here, well, you got like lower ground down there and a few hills in between, mountains way into the distance, and where this guy's at, Frank, he's kind of on a hill from the looks of it, still pretty high up there. So just wanted to give you that brief description. And Frank said he's thinking of heading back to the spot. Now, just as a heads up, when Frank first came across the supposed M cave and found the Area 51 sign, later he decided to head back to the spot again. From then till later, he didn't reveal the location publicly, but he did return back. So based off that pattern, he'll probably do the same here as well. The one thing you could monitor and analyse there in the background if you are interested is like how in the past where there was an Area 51 sign, the next time you went there was a restricted sign just outside of the cave entrance. I wonder what will show up this time round when it comes to this potential grave site. You know, what's he going to find? What will he uncover? And I'm sure there will be viewers out there very skeptical, very cautious and suspicious of the situation in many different ways. I do understand that. But once again, just understand I'm relaying this to you so you're aware of what's going on. And the main factor of today is for me to give my analysis of the matter, right? First and foremost, you always need the location, and without it, it's pretty much pointless. But if there are hikers out there who may have been in this area or found something similar, that could help. Take in mind, I believe it's Odd Man Out, a small channel on YouTube that may have found the location of the cave that Frank came across. Even it caught the attention of SB Vegas Adventures, a fellow hiker who may consider going out there sometime to locate it. Progress can be made with limited description, and possibly the same here with time. Though, without further ado, let's at least look up close at the actual mine itself, right? I mean, when looking at it very quickly, there might be slight similarities, not directly the same, but similar in when we've looked at Scott Natal's footage. Scott Natal, another fellow hiker who appeared in the Kenny Veach investigations, hiking about where Kenny went missing and beyond, looking for mines, mine shafts to figure out if Kenny went into one or not, and exploring pretty deep. And some of the mines he came across were somewhat fenced off and they had warning signs on. Then others didn't, just like the one Kenny Veach was stood near. There was no warning signs or restrictions there, and that was a vertical mine shaft, more dangerous. What we're looking at on screen is a horizontal entrance of a mine, not a shaft. I mean, there is additional footage if you want to check it yourself on Frank's channel or the other guy's channel. I only wanted to present to you just a little bit so it didn't spoil it all completely, and just to go with, you know, the guidelines on YouTube, as you'll know, got to be careful there. But when looking at the opening of this mine, looks like there's an instant bend on the right. I don't know what that is back there. I mean, you looked at it, it could be like a bird's nest or more so dead vegetation which is bunched up together. You do have a warning sign there: danger, unsafe mines, stay out, stay alive. Does anyone think that that's a real sign or a fake one? Only because people were skeptical in the past. I'm just wondering what people's thoughts are on this matter. There appears to be barbed wire as well. There's been an attempt made to keep people out, but off screen on the right hand side, over that way, there is a gap in which you can just walk around. So, you know, that can be caused by people who are curious to exploring. It's understandable. Colours of the rock on the outside, pretty light, sand-like coloured, brownish in some areas. Within, it does look fairly dry. If we move on to the next slide, this is just jumping a little bit ahead. So when I said it bends round on the right, this is what it looks like looking down. It's like a tunnelway, a hallway. And the reason why this looks creepy, it appears to be a never-ending tunnel, but that's not quite the case. But you see how dark it is as well. Kind of narrow, but big enough to virtually stand up and walk in, whether that be Kenny Veach or a person creating foul play. In the Kenny Veach case, you never know. What's interesting about this spot, especially when you look at this angle here, how you don't know what's up ahead or what's around the bend, this looks exactly the same as when another guy was exploring with his dog in some kind of mine and there was a tunnel like this, and then when going around the corner in the distance he saw like a giant human or humanoid figure. Does anyone remember that? And then the person jumped, ran out, ran away, and then the video ended, and we never really saw or heard an update after that. Very creepy that was, but not really seen anything more about it or the true location. But seeing this on screen kind of reminded me of that video because it does look very similar as for like the tunnel going down and the colours of the wall. Nevertheless, if you didn't turn right and you looked to your left, right near going into the entrance, which if we just go back, it's just on the other side of that danger sign, kind of over that way on the left with him. Come across this. Now there appears to be a dip in the ground to begin with, as if something has been dug out, though this lighter coloured dirt, which is very fine, bit grainy, not that rocky, very fine dirt. Where did that come from? Was there a collapse? Was there some kind of fill in? But where from? The back wall, up above, or below? Of course, it doesn't seem like it was completely filled in because there's still a bit of an overhang of the corners of the outline of the hole, and it's not exactly flattened out or smoothed. Appears to be some dead vegetation resting on top. Got a few different angles as well. So you look at the back facing rock wall there, it does go in a bit. Does it look like it's been chipped away? Kind of in some areas. The colouring of it resting or sticking to the rock wall, similar colour to what's here. So I don't know why it would be from there unless something's been chipped off, things have broken off and then landed here. What I will say and agree with, when you look at it immediately without thinking too hard, based off the shape and the tip of it, it does look like it's been filled in, and because of the colouring of it, it does look like one of those typical graves when someone has been buried, right? I do have some further points to mention, we'll get to that later. Be sure to let me know what you think about it. Do you believe this could be Kenny Veach's grave? And if not that, do you think this is just a grave of another person? And if so, why? Why here? Foul play or not? Etc. Do you have any more images? This is the last one. Bit centre more to the right. Quite a few loose stones and rocks. It does look like things have broken away and crumbled as well. The ground here, can't really see much. Can't really see any prints, because that would be an indicator that someone has already been there and been up close before the video recorded, as an example. But it's tucked away in the corner there, with it being right at the entranceway. It's not exactly concealed, is it? But at least from Frank's point of view, he did find it somewhat disturbing when he saw it. Part of him was thinking maybe it was just like a hole created to dig for like mining, but then he also said, could it be a burial? And that's his final thought, what he's stuck with. A burial of a person, a grave. Now, of course, there are times and moments out in the desert, like Frenchman Mountains, where we saw the grave there, or was it Sunshine Mountains near to Frenchman Mountains, whichever one. There was like crosses in the ground, I believe maybe a pink one near to a rock, and who knows why, maybe a person was killed there or had an accident there, or it was their favourite place to scatter their ashes. You know, things like that. It can be done for good, but there can also be a dark outcome depending which way you look at it. Would you say it's a professional job though if someone was actually buried there? I wouldn't say it's professional, but because it's such a remote, vast area out there in the northern Nevada desert, how many people are going to come by here and explore and come across it? Not as many as an urban area. So sometimes people may get a bit lazy and sloppy when disposing of items or people, especially when they don't anticipate many to pass by. So there's that to acknowledge. But yeah, definitely, I mean, when looking at the ground, to acknowledge that, at least on the edge there, it does look kind of hard, possible rock on the base, the ground, and then within, I can't see rock, it's just dirt, a few stones. It looks like it could well be quite compact, right? That's what I'm thinking. Now, One point I want to add in, and it's pretty much a very important feature. Normally, when a person's buried in the ground, they'll be like buried horizontal, laying flat, flat in a coffin, flat in a hole. They don't tend to be buried vertically. You get what I'm saying? To bury someone vertically, I don't think it'd be as practical unless you're doing it because you've got very limited space, and as example here, pretty limited. If the rest of the ground is pretty hard and dry, looks like there's a bird feather there possibly. Didn't see any bones, just as a highlight. These rocks could be quite hard to break into the ground, but if there's a softer area, a softer patch, then that's the spot you'll choose. And even if it wasn't that wide, as long as it's deep enough, you'll just dump the person in. Feet first or head first. It'll be either standing up or upside down. Granted, there's been times where people have died, passed away in caves when exploring tight, confined spaces where they had to wiggle their way in, or they were dropping down into some kind of vertical cave or opening tunnelway within the cave. It got a bit narrow. The legs are stuck up in the air. The stomach has, they've breathed in, gone down a tight passage. They've breathed back out. Now the stomach is overhanging and lodged near to a rock, and they can't move at all. They've got no chance, no survival, and it's really messed up, and it's quite dark there, and it has happened with some people with time. It's very dangerous when exploring very small, tight, confined spaces such as caves. As for mines, though, well, a little bit different that, because it tends to not be as natural. It's more man-made, creating holes in ground, holes in the side of mountains, blowing things up using dynamite, whether that be modern or more so in the past. And it tends to be more so in the past. You think of all the mine shafts and mines out there, they tend to be abandoned, and in a way for good reason, because what's been done has been done in the past. Things have moved on. You still always get some active mines, active quarries, etc. out there, but maybe not as many as in the past. So they just remain abandoned. What's been done has been done. What's been extracted has been extracted. Some will be filled in to prevent people from getting in or hurting themselves. Others will be fenced off for the same protection reasons, but then you'll always get some which are neglected, abandoned, and even the ones that have been fenced off, people always find a way to get in. If the mine or mine shaft hasn't been filled in with debris or rocks, well, people will manage to get in and explore, because people are interested to see what's present and what's around, and I guess this is kind of an example. But even in the past, when you had miners, people mining in mines, mine shafts, there could be like a cave-in, if that's what you call it, within a mine, like uneven surface. If there's no support, so the beams break, or the rocks from above fall on top, and you get caved in, trapped, or killed on the spot, depending if they hit you or not. Here, though, you got a nice tunnelway, passageway, no risk of that from the looks of it. Solid rock walls and ceiling as well. Just like here as well, it's been created pretty well. But then when you look in that corner there, does it look unstable? Could that have been a hole, a drop which went deeper underground as a form of mining in the past? Or was it just flat ground as usual? And then at the point of when Kenny Veach went missing, whether Kenny Veach being in the area at the time or someone taking Kenny Veach here, then started digging a hole and put Kenny Veach into it and then filled it up. I mean, we've got to acknowledge that if people have been pushing the idea that Kenny Veach could be found in the vertical mine shaft up Little Jermay Canyon, even though that's not been the case because people have been in there and explored. But if at the time, before that, it was widely accepted as a possibility that Kenny could have been in a cave fill-in style, whilst Kenny being in a mine shaft, and it's a vertical one, whether it be stood up or face down, I mean, the same could happen here in a way. I want to know your thoughts. It depends how deep it is, right? Now, Frank said he's definitely considering going back to this location to dig it up, to reveal what's there, if anything. Now, anyone watching, let me know your thoughts. If you can think back and remember to when Scott Natal was hiking about, you know, maybe closer, more relevant to the area of Kenny Veach and a bit further afar, when Scott Natal was looking at all the different mines and mine shafts and holes in the ground, how often did we see something that looked like this in Scott's footage? Was it often or not? Does this stand out to you or not? The reason why it stands out to me is just mainly because of the colouring of it and the tip, the shape of it. It does look like a grave. But in terms of the width, very unrealistic. In terms of the depth, unknown at this moment in time. The location, obscured. That's unfortunate. But if Frank is able to do an update, that might help clear some things up, maybe even debunk it. It depends what he finds or what's added afterwards. If other people have been, who knows? It seems like Frank doesn't want anyone else knowing the location. I don't know if people would take that the wrong way or not. But at least we got some confirmation it's in the northern part of Nevada, within the desert area. Could well be in the direction, or maybe even beyond where Kenny Veach was hiking. And if it was beyond where Kenny Veach was hiking, we do need to acknowledge that Kenny Veach did say that if he went to Jomay Canyon, Little Jomay Canyon, and he didn't find the M cave, he would then hike further north for 45 miles. And even if he didn't quite make it 45 miles and only a bit, well, would he have made it to an area like here? I wonder. Let me know your thoughts. Any further points that I would like to make or add on? I mean, the colouring, though, in fairness, I have seen things like this as for the colouring similar to Scott Natal's footage, but it was more so the colouring of rock and not the dirt or dust. I mean, when you look at the back of that there, right, and you see all the rock wall, it all looks mainly natural. Maybe things have been chipped away due to the angling of some of the rock and the fact that it seems to be coated in that sandy coloured dirt, which you see here as well. So it could make me think that did it fall from above? Or was it chucked into that corner with a shovel, the dirt, which then ended up hitting the back wall? That could make sense as well. And, you know, just a question of how long does this date back to? It would need to be somewhat old for it to be relevant to Kenny Veach. I would say it could even be beyond older if it is to do with mining in the past, right? It does look a bit out of place, a bit odd, but when you take on board that there are loose rocks nearby which may or may have not come from the back-facing rock wall, it could have been chipped away way back in the past. But does that dirt look fresh? Does it look like soil disturbance as of recent time, or at least back to when Kenny went missing in 2014? Or is that not applicable at all? I mean, it's not the case, but when I look at it from a slight angle, I don't know if the ground is ridged like there's track marks going in. I'm probably wrong. It might just be the ground crumbling and cracking in a way, but you know, like when you see tyre marks, it looked like just a little bit there, but diagonally. In conclusion, at this moment in time, I wouldn't say I'm convinced enough that it is an actual burial site or a grave, such as Kenny Veach. Even if it wasn't Kenny Veach, do I think it could be of another person? Likely not. I mean, when it comes to missing person cases out in the Nevada desert, I've only really looked at the Kenny Veach one, and if we're speaking specifically where Kenny Veach supposedly went missing, there's not really been anyone else reported as missing officially. So maybe with time we may get more answers, and there are still previous locations that need to be ticked off the list, like the mysterious M-shaped cave with the Area 51 sign. But if there ever comes an update or confirmation of whatever, I'll do my best to cover it, analyse it, maybe use the maps if necessary, and get up close when footage is available. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it somewhat interesting. Be sure to like and share it so more people see it. As for now, I'll see you next time. Goodbye, good night.